We are live. Welcome, everyone. My name's Jeff St. Laurent, and this is the Tuesday Live Show. And in just a minute, I get this really cool dude over here who had a record income producing year last year and has been doing this business for a little while. And I want to kind of share all the details so you all you coaches out there who are in the, especially those beginning stages, have some hope and realize that it is possible. But before we get going, I always record all my live shows. I put them at my university at sellingcoaching.com. I help coaches transition to a full-time business just like this guy. And if you want to get involved with what I'm doing, I'd suggest get over to Selling Coaching, use the university, start off right on the homepage, enter your name and email. That's going to not only get you a great audio resource called Launching Your Coaching Business, the First 3 Vital Steps, but that's also going to put you in my community. You'll get emails from me on a weekly basis and get a lot of great stuff going on. But enough of that stuff. Matt Mills, welcome to the show. How are you, man?
I'm doing awesome. It's good to see you, Jeff, as always.
So Matt Mills was here on this show at least a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
We get a little fuzzy when we've been together for so long. This is your second appearance.
Yep.
And there's nothing better than bringing back clients of mine that I start off with. So we'll work together for a little bit of time. We were talking, I think he started a business late 2017. We worked together one-on-one and then in a little group for most of 2018 and created some success there, got some clarity and direction. You kind of kicked off on your own, worked with some other different people as well, I think, because you're always working with people, correct?
Oh, yeah. I'm a huge believer to always have that support. Yeah.
Which is huge. And then last year, so 2021, I had this advanced program that I was kind of an invite only, like, hey, and I reached out to Matt. I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? You know, it's something that Matt's like, dude, I'm in. And so we worked together for the first 5 months of the year. And Matt went on to kick ass and create an almost 6-figure year.
So close. Yeah. It was a few thousand short, but definitely record setting. So it was my highest year, all coaching income. So it was great. Yeah.
And it was all coaching income. Yeah. It wasn't which is awesome. Yeah. So today let's start to break this story down a little bit because I think you said when we were working together in that group, like we were pushing you hard, but you were ready for it. Right. Let me ask you this. Talk about the evolution that went on from 17, 18, 19, 20, because there's a lot, right? I've seen, because you did my GoPro challenge, I think the year before, right? And there was, and I saw how your niche was different and talk about the evolution that over those 3-4 years that puts you in the place for last year to really blow it up.
Yeah. Evolution's a good word. So, I think when you start your business, you don't know what you don't know. And of course you want to, as I said, you want to find that support. I think I've always had some sort of coaching support or had a program or something where I've really had some of that encouragement, the support, the coaching, whatever it is to really help close those gaps. And I think the evolution really, it was just as you always love to, and I think it's so important, is just as you love to teach everyone, is just continue showing up and taking that action. And I think that was really where the evolution was I'm very mission driven, and I knew that what I wanted to build and what I was really passionate about. And so I just kept going. And as I got in action, as I was putting into work, as I was trying things, as I was having conversations with people, as I was coaching, I just stayed very aware and then also recognized what was it that I really needed at that particular time to get me over whatever that next bridge was that I was missing. And it's been different at all the time. Sometimes it's focusing on my coaching skills. Sometimes it's my business skills. Sometimes I really just wanted to be part of a really awesome community of other kick-ass coaches, which was what the group was last year, to really light that fire. So it was always just continually doing that reflection, that self-assessments, that awareness, and getting whatever support I needed, the tools, the resources, whatever it was. So I think that was how I pretty much evolved and continue to. I'm always asking myself questions of what could I be doing better? What is it that I can do to really kind of fill in those gaps, get me to that next level? And when you're aware of that and you're really pushing yourself in that way, you can make some cool things happen.
Yeah, I agree. But when you did the group now, right? So you had that evolution, right? You were ready to really do the work. You had been doing the work. You had been earning income over the years as a coach. So it's not like you didn't have any success. You had monetary created results, not to the level you did last year, though, to that point. Talk about the space you are in that group and that continued on for the rest of the year. And the work you actually did. That's what I want people to hear, because you have to be in that space. You can want it, but then to want it and be in the space and then follow through and actually doing the work is a totally different thing.
Yeah. And I think it was that I had to come to a place where I trusted myself. I needed to know that there wasn't anything missing, that I had all that I needed to just put in the work. I definitely am somebody who asks a lot of questions about, well, as I said before, what am I missing? What do I need to adjust? I think that's sometimes that a lot of newer coaches can get into a little bit of that cycle of just always feeling like there's something more that I need, or this isn't right, or whatever it was. And I kind of got to a point, speaking completely honestly, where I was tired of that, and I felt fully confident. I knew I got clients' results. Even if it was, I had been working with a good number of clients already, but even if it had been one or two, just having that faith and trust of just been like, and I know I can do this, so I'm ready to get to work. I'm ready to put in a little more of that hustle because I have all the tools in front of me. And so I think that was the big shift that happened for me last year, was really just having the faith and the trust in myself. And knowing that, okay, if I show up and I put in that work, the results are going to come.
That's a really good. I'm glad you said that, right? So it was the faith and the trust and the belief that if I invest this much time and energy in actually doing the work, because you knew what to do, like it's not like you really didn't know what to do. I mean, we learned a lot and we pushed hard, but when you got to that group, the people I invited to that, it's not like anyone didn't know what to do. It was just a matter of doing it more consistently on another level, learning all the finer things that go along with it. So I'm hearing is that you had done it enough, created enough results where you trusted yourself, believed in yourself enough to say like, hey, if I'm going to make this investment of real time and energy to do this, I actually believe that I can make it happen.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was just filling in a little bit of, just like filling in some of the pieces that I thought would like help me just push myself a little bit more. So as you know, I'm a big runner and I can be competitive and all of that. And it was in a way, it was having those teammates around me. It was having that coach where it was like, just look, you know what to do. Now is where you can just put on the gas. Here's where you kind of need to push, and having that, just whether it was just that the creative energy and also the motivation, whatever it was. But that was something that I definitely appreciated in being in that group. And I think was missing a little bit, was having some of that fire. And I can be really good at creating that myself, but sometimes I need that inspiration and that support from other people who are doing the same thing, who can show me also what's possible. And that was what was so cool about being part of that group last year.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad we're talking about this, because these are things that we don't often get to talk about when we're going through, because we're just doing the work. Mm-hmm. But I love what you said about, you believed if I did this, that I could actually make this happen. And now, how did that impact your ability to do the work? Because like you just kept coming back every week. Like, I got another client. Like it was kind of almost silly. Like everyone's coming back like every week. I got a couple of clients. I got a client, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you can talk about, like, because that belief, you didn't have that resistance there. Therefore, I imagine there's a whole lot more ease, and that's what I felt with you. Is just not that there was resistance in that sense, but I get that with a
Right.
lot of clients. We'll talk about things and it's just, they're not totally comfortable. And I get it. And I know they've got to work through it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and because a big belief of mine is that motivation comes after you get into action. You can create motivation. I think sometimes you wait to think, you'll wait for it to come and then you get started. And I knew that honestly, if I just took the steps and did, again, like had that trust in myself and took that action, that then it would just build. And I think that was where that flow came in. I even remember there were some times when we were just, you even just challenged us and you said, get an event out there, just go do it. And it's easy to think like, oh yeah, that seems so easy. But for me, that was what I needed. And so it was like, okay, I can do this. I can take that action and somebody's got my back. Or, there's somebody else, or I know, like, I'm going to learn from the experience. It's sort of that mastery mindset versus the performance mindset. And so that was the other thing too, was for me, part of it was like, there were skill sets that the client creation has been a huge skill set that I've been focused on over the past couple of years. And so that was the other thing too, is I wanted to get better at it. And when you approach it from being more of a master of doing that, rather than specifically tying in with like the metrics and the goals, which are super important and which I do have. And that was the other part of creating that income, was I was really set, and I set it quarterly, and I was like, okay, this is what I need to have. I need to have these amount of conversations, but at the same time, I really wanted to be good at it. And so that was the other piece that I think was really helpful in getting me into a little bit of a flow last year.
Can you talk about the client mastery, like what you mean by that?
Yeah. So with the client creation piece.
Yeah. Client creation master. Yeah.
Yeah. So a big way that I create clients is really building relationships. And so that takes work, and that takes time. It's not just putting out a piece of content and waiting to see who responds. It's actually developing these relationships, engaging with my audience, engaging with people who, might benefit from working together. And so for me, it was like, and this was actually the first conversation last year when we were talking about when I was talking about starting the group, I was like, I just want to create conversations. Like, that was my big goal, was I just want to get out and talk to people, develop the relationships, whether they lead to a paying client or not, it doesn't matter. But I knew that the more conversations that I had, the more relationships that I built, the more income I was going to bring into my business. So that was hugely important. And that was probably the biggest key. That was not something that I had been quite as focused on in the early years of my business.
I like how you talk about the time. So like someone listen, like the time it takes to develop relationships, and then the communication in between, and how it happens over time. And it's so someone listening to this, it's not like their minds are blown. Oh, I've never heard that before. But that's just the whole point. Like my whole email, if anyone saw my email that I wrote for this show today, I talked about my mom's 80th birthday and the things she accomplished over her lifetime. And it's like 80 years, and it's like, 40-year career and an almost 50-year marriage and things like that. And it's just like, it's time. So when, if it takes 6 months to develop a relationship or 6 years to get a client, it's not like that's your only client, but sometimes that's the time frame it takes.
Yeah.
And so the stuff we talk about when we dive into this shouldn't surprise anybody, because there's not like a magic secret that, oh, we just saved for Matt and I, with this group. I've been waiting to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I always come back to that idea. I'm like, if there was the secret, we would all know it, and we'd all have like, 7-figure businesses, all that kind of stuff. And the thing is, it is so simple, and it's not always easy. But so that's why I say, like, I really wanted to focus on how to do that really well. And part of that is not just the learning. I'm a big learner, but like, it is getting into action. And honestly, it's just And I still catch myself if I'm like in a phase where I'm just not having conversations. I know that I'm going to see it in the numbers in my business. And so it's just so important. Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. What I heard you say is now you understand the business better, and how your feelings and activities and actions directly impact the business or not.
Mm-hmm.
So, I haven't been having conversations. I'm going to see it in my numbers. It's not like someone wouldn't know that before, but there's a different relationship now.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And that's, I think, part of, you asked about the evolution and sort of those moments. I think that was what developed over time, was understanding where the knobs are a little bit, what I need to adjust, what I need to dial back, what I need to do more of. Other coaches I know refer it to like turning on the faucet, where it's like, you can turn it on, you can dial it back, like when you want to fill up your practice, all of that. So that was kind of, for now, for me, that's the big thing, is I'm just, who can I have a conversation with? Who can I make an offer to? That's really that's the big driver of my business right now.
Who can I have an offer to?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nice. Very, yeah. And that's, I think, a lot of what we went through too. Can you share maybe, and this is off the cuff, but, with this last year with the group that you did and on your own, can you maybe point out a couple of your biggest learnings that you feel that are now just not every day, but like constant? I ground myself in these things that I've learned, because this is a matured conversation.
Yeah.
Like the conversation we're having now, I'm enjoying it so much, because even back from our first interview like this X amount of years ago, or with a newer client, you can tell it's a matured conversation. It's right. It's a matured business owner I'm talking to. So can you share maybe like, what did you learn last year to put you into this space that got you to let's say that 6-figure mark?
Yeah. I think it's, well, in kind of a simple way, you never know where your next client's coming from, meaning like you don't know who your next client can be. So when I talk about having conversations, it's not just like every single person is an ideal client and I'm pitching them to work with me and, that's it. Like I have conversations with any and everybody and just get curious about them. Just really try to find out what's going on in their world. And they might not be the right fit for me, but they might know somebody in their world, or, be able to connect me in a way. So I think that was really important. So that was a big lesson. And then I also, I think the other thing was, there were some things, I think you talked about resistance, and it's a huge topic that I love talking about and all of that. I think there were always times when I was resistant. So for example, I know like one thing we talked about when you said like, everyone in the group go put on an event, like just next week, put up something.
Like go.
Yeah, it was great. And one of the things that I did was a rounds table event where I was personally inviting people, and it was really successful. Got some people, got a good attendance rate, and developed a lot of relationships and conversations. So I think that was the other thing too, was just get out. Like honestly, like if there's something that's kind of calling, or I know that I feel like I need to do this, whether it's a roundtable event or something that I'm really interested in putting on a workshop. For me, I can easily get into that cycle of just overthinking it way too much before. And so I think the big thing was like, just get it out there and you'll learn a lot from it. And so I think that's, not like the newest learning, but it was definitely the biggest thing that had an impact for me last year, was just a little bit more of like fearlessness and boldness, that I think really helped.
Yeah, it's going after it, not thinking about it. It's taking the action, but you're also in that place where you could do that.
Right.
because you had that, like going back to the beginning of this conversation, you had the belief in yourself and that trust. And therefore you can fully engage in something and you can still be a little bit nervous and fearful, but there's no resistance.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. There's a lot more resilience. And also I think the more bold you can get, I look back and think of what was really bold and scary for me in the early days of my business. And it was just, for me getting on camera and putting a live video out or recording a video for my website or something like that. And now I think one thing that helped work was I get really personalized with my outreach. And I think that this is important. It's just like a small tip, like get personalized. Send an individual email to a client or to somebody that you're interested in having a conversation with, not like a mass email with 20 people and saying like, hey, I'm offering a free coaching session if anyone wants to take it up. But to tie that in, like now I send video messages to people in my LinkedIn network. And I'm just like, hey, how you doing? I see that you're up to this. If you'd love to get on a call or you'd love to have a conversation about that. And it's so much more personal. Like that would have terrified me a few years ago. And so I think like that's the kind of stuff that feels like I'm a little bit more bold, and it's still a little bit of resistance there, but that's going to come up anyway. So for me, it was doing more things like that felt, I was more eager to take that bold action than maybe that I was a few years ago starting my business. Yeah.
And that's why I like what you're saying is like now you're taking what used to be challenging, just doing a live broadcast or something like that. But now you're taking it to a whole new levels as you're taking it, being very personal with your invitations and your networking, which takes more time than just mass messaging a bunch of people. But I'm hearing that's what you found has given you the results.
Yeah, it has. It's, you'd be surprised when you have that personal touch with somebody and you're just, even being genuine, and people who are like, I haven't talked to you in a while. What's going on in your world? How many people will really respond positively to that? And I think that was the other thing too, was because the action bred more motivation and confidence. By the end of the year, I was raising my rates to, a lot higher than I was charging. I think that was also what contributed it. So, I think that's why I say, like, you never know where your next client's coming from. And you need to have that personal touch if you want to develop that relationship and really give them the value and the service for what they're going to be paying for you working with you.
And you believe in yourself and your service, and you believe in the value you bring into the market. Yeah. So now when you raise your prices, it's instead of like, oh my God, is this too much or this too expensive? It's more like, hell yeah, I'm worth it. I'm not charging enough. And I'll do it again and do it again. Yeah. It's a totally different. Yeah. Awesome. Matt, this has been awesome, man. I wish we could just keep going on and on and on. Yeah. But it's been great. Like I said, what's really cool about this, and hopefully people listening to this or watching the recording at some point, they can hear it's a matured conversation, but between two mature business owners. And it's a difference between when we're starting off. It doesn't mean it's an immature conversation, right? But a person's in a spot where they're only so far along and they're at that starting phase. And I'm hoping people can hear that maturity. And that's a testament to you because of what you've gone through. And it's a maturity, just like you hear with the child as they get older, a teenager, and then 20s, and then they're in their 30s. And I was talking to a parent the other day, and like, yeah, I'm having conversations with my kids, and it's mature conversations now, and it's just fun. So Matt, thanks for sharing everything.
The questions are different. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, I was going to say that the questions are different. What you ask yourself, what we talk about, all of that. So it's fun. It's great. Yeah.
Awesome. Anyways, Matt, thanks for coming on. I guarantee you're going to be back, because you're just going to keep moving forward and creating all cool different results. And I'm going to invite you back, and we're going to have another even more mature conversation than we did today. So thank you very much, man. And thanks to everyone that's watching live and watching the recording. And we'll be back with more great interviews with some more clients. Take care, everyone. Bye.